They didn't rush to confirm her death. They verified it. Satellite sweep. Thermal silence. Vessel signature gone. The explosion registered exactly where it was supposed to. The recovery drone circled once, twice, and transmitted what mattered. Debris field consistent with total structural failure. One of them leaned back in his chair and removed his glasses. Cold water, he said calmly. No one survives that temperature longer than an hour. Another man lifted his glass. To clean endings. They believed it was finished. They were wrong. If you're watching this right now, drop a comment telling me what country you're in. I want to see how far this story reaches. And stay with me until the end, because the part that looks impossible at first, that won't even be the most shocking truth. The Arctic Ocean does not negotiate. It does not improvise. It obeys thermodynamics. Water at minus 1.8 degrees Celsius does not feel cold. It feels violent. It pulls heat from the body 25 times faster than air at the same temperature. Muscles fail in minutes. Coordination collapses. Conscious thought narrows to one primitive directive: survive. After 20 minutes, most people lose functional movement. After 45 minutes, cardiac instability begins. After 90 minutes, survival becomes a statistical error. After 96 hours, there is no category for that. Which is why Captain Elias Rowe did not speak for 5 full seconds after his co-pilot said, "Sir, you need to see this." Rowe stepped forward and looked through the side window of the search helicopter. He saw ice first, broken sheets drifting in slow collision. Then he saw something darker. Not debris, not wreckage, a human silhouette. "Bring us down," Rowe said. "Sir, water temp reads." "I know what it reads." The helicopter lowered. Sergeant Ilya Makarov was already suited up in a thermal dive rig rated for sub-zero immersion. He had done rescue in the Baltic and once in the Barents during a winter storm that made headlines for weeks. He had never hesitated before a jump. He hesitated now, because the woman below wasn't floating randomly. She was positioned, back against a fractured slab of hull metal, arms folded across her chest, holding something. "Sir," Makarov said quietly. "She's armed." Rowe narrowed his eyes. Even from 40 feet above the surface, he could see the configuration. Long barrel, composite stock, extended optic system. This wasn't civilian. It wasn't standard military either. It was deliberate. "Protocol?" Makarov asked. "Recover," Rowe replied. "Weapon comes with her. Do not separate." Makarov dropped. The water hit like a collision. Later, he would describe it as the kind of cold that deletes language. There is no word for it once you're inside it. He reached her in under 90 seconds. He touched the hull fragment first, then her shoulder. Her eyes opened. Makarov froze. He would later say this part carefully in debrief, because he wasn't a dramatic man. "She wasn't confused," he said. "She was assessing. Not fear. Not panic. Evaluation. "I'm Russian Navy," he said through the cold air between them. "I'm here to extract you." Her gaze held him for exactly 2 seconds. Then she nodded once. He reached for her arm. She did not release the rifle. He didn't try to make her. They hoisted her into the helicopter. Medical protocol activated instantly. Thermal blankets, oxygen mask, heated 4-line. Corporal Anya Volkov checked her vitals, then checked them again. "Core temperature is critically low," Volkov muttered. "But pulse is steady." "That's not possible," the co-pilot said. Volkov didn't respond. She was staring at the monitor. "Her pupils are reactive." Rowe stepped closer. "How long was she in the water?" "Debris satellite timestamp suggests 96 hours," the co-pilot answered. Volkov looked up slowly. "That's not survivable." Rowe looked at the rifle. It rested across the woman's body like an extension of her spine. He had seen precision rifles before. This was different. The stock density looked wrong. The barrel architecture suggested custom machining beyond standard tolerances. And the optic housing wasn't cataloged. "Sir," Volkov said quietly. The woman's hand had tightened. Not randomly. Not reflexively. Intentionally, even semi-conscious, she maintained grip integrity. Ro leaned in. "Can you hear me?" Her eyes opened again. Clear. Controlled. "What day is it?" she asked. Ro told her. She calculated. "Not emotionally. Mathematically. Then they believe I'm dead," she said softly. Ro held her gaze. "Who?" She ignored the question. Instead, she shifted slightly and said, "Do not let anyone separate me from this weapon." Her voice wasn't panicked. It was precise. Ro studied her for a moment. Then he nodded. Understood. She closed her eyes again, but her hand never loosened. As the helicopter turned toward Svalbard Station, 230 kilometers away, Ro made a decision he would later have to defend under formal inquiry. He keyed his encrypted channel. "This is Captain Ro. We have one female survivor. No ID. Critical but stable. Armed with non-standard long-range platform. I want medical and secure containment on arrival." A pause. "Sir." The voice responded. "Did you say armed?" "I did." Another pause. "Understood. We'll prepare." Ro ended transmission. He looked back at her. There was frost still forming along the edges of her sleeves. 96 hours in Arctic water. And alive. That was the first impossibility. The second one was waiting inside the rifle. And far to the south, in a building where men believed cold water solved problems permanently, a small anomaly had just appeared on a monitoring dashboard. Asset status. Pending review. The clock had started. Svalbard Station did not look like a place where history changed. It looked like concrete, steel corridors, reinforced glass, wind that never stopped moving. But history does not require architecture. It requires timing. Captain Elias Ro walked beside the stretcher as medical personnel moved the woman through intake. 2 armed security officers followed at controlled distance. Not aggressive, not hostile. Just present. Her eyes were closed. But she wasn't asleep. Ro had seen unconscious. This wasn't that. This was conservation. Inside the secure medical wing, Dr. Ingrid Halvorsen took control. She had treated hypothermia cases before. Fishermen. Researchers. Once, a Norwegian special operator pulled from glacial water after an exercise failure. She had never seen this. "Core temperature is climbing too fast," Halvorsen muttered. "Her metabolic response is stabilizing." "That's good, isn't it?" Volkov asked. "It's abnormal," Halvorsen replied calmly. "Abnormal isn't good. It's just abnormal." 2 nurses approached the rifle. The woman's hand snapped tight instantly. Her eyes opened. "Don't." One word. Flat. Not loud. The nurses froze. Halvorsen stepped forward. "No one is trying to take it," she said evenly. "You're safe here." The woman studied her. Not emotionally. Clinically. Then she looked past Halvorsen directly at Ro. "You're in command." "Yes." "Then you make the decisions." "I do." A pause. "If anyone else touches it," she said, "people will die." Silence. Halvorsen looked at Ro. Ro held the woman's gaze. "Understood," he said. He gestured to the nurses. "Leave it." They stepped back. The rifle was placed against the wall within her line of sight. Only then did her body relax a fraction. "What's your name?" Halvorsen asked. A beat. "Annika. That your full name?" "It's sufficient." Ro didn't push. Not yet. Instead, he keyed his internal channel. "Get Lieutenant Sorensen down here." Lieutenant Mikkel Sorensen had spent 12 years in Arctic operations logistics before transferring into advanced weapons diagnostics. He had a mind that liked systems. He believed every engineered object told a story about its maker. He entered the medical wing quietly. His eyes went straight to the rifle. He didn't touch it. He just looked. Then he inhaled slowly. "That's not factory." Ro crossed his arms. "Talk to me." Sorensen stepped closer. Composite stock reinforced internally. Barrel fluting not for weight reduction, heat dispersion compensation. Scope housing modified for extended elevation adjustment beyond military standard. He tilted his head. This was built for distance. How much distance? Ro asked. Sorensen didn't answer immediately. Instead, he crouched slightly and examined the stock base. His brow tightened. There's added mass here, he murmured. Ballast? Ro asked. No. Sorensen's voice changed subtly. Compartment. He looked at Ro. Permission. Ro looked at Anika. She was watching them, calculating. You open it, she said. Only him. Sorensen carefully pressed along the composite seam. Nothing. He adjusted finger placement, applied pressure at a specific angle. A soft mechanical click. A hidden panel released. Inside, a sealed data module. Sorensen went still. Ro felt it too. The shift. This is encrypted storage, Sorensen said quietly. Military-grade architecture, but not standard issue. Ro looked at Anika. What's on it? She met his eyes. Truth. That wasn't helpful. Sorensen extracted the module. I'll need an isolated terminal, he said. Air-gapped. You'll have it, Ro replied. He turned back to Anika. How long were you out there? 93 hours and 20 minutes. You were conscious? For most of it. Ro studied her. That's not survivable. She shrugged faintly. Depends what you're willing to calculate. The maintenance room Sorensen chose had no windows and no network access. Just power. Just hardware. Just silence. Ro stood behind him as he connected the module to an isolated terminal. Outer layer encryption, Sorensen said. Complex, but structured. How long? 3 hours, maybe 4. You have 2. Sorensen didn't argue. He worked. Patterns. Breakpoints. Code segmentation. The encryption was disciplined. Whoever built it understood both military systems and how to move outside them. After 1 hour and 46 minutes, the first layer broke. The screen filled with structured logs. Coordinates. Atmospheric data. Wind vectors. Elevation. Target confirmations. 17 entries. Each formatted identically. Sorensen scrolled. Engagement records, he said. Ro leaned closer. Distance. Sorensen clicked the most recent log. The number appeared. Ro blinked. Read it again. Say it. Sorensen swallowed. 3,980 meters. The room went quiet. That's over 2.5 miles, Ro said. Yes. Is that even possible? Sorensen nodded slowly. In theory. He scrolled further. Crosswind data. Temperature variance. Bullet drop compensation. Flight time. 7.1 seconds. Sorensen whispered. Ro leaned back. 7 seconds. 7 seconds for the Earth to rotate. For wind to shift. For a human target to move. Target ID? Ro asked. Sorensen hesitated. Then read the line. Magnus Virek. Ro's blood went cold. Magnus Virek wasn't just a businessman. He was defense infrastructure, energy contracts, Arctic drilling oversight, government advisory board. Official cause of death 3 days ago. Cardiac arrest, Ro murmured. Sorensen didn't respond. He didn't need to. The timestamp on the log matched the official time of death within 12 minutes. Ro stared at the screen. She killed him. Yes. And then someone destroyed her vessel. Yes. The pieces aligned. Virek dead. Shooter eliminated. Loose ends erased. Except one. She survived. Sorensen scrolled further. Commander, he said carefully. There's more storage space here. Ro felt it before he saw it. The outer logs aren't the full capacity. Sorensen nodded. There's a secondary partition. How long to open it? Sorensen exhaled slowly. This layer is different. Custom architecture. How long? Could be hours. Could be days. Ro turned. He didn't run. He moved with purpose. Back to medical. Back to Anika. She looked at him before he spoke. 3,980, he said. Yes. Magnus Virek. Yes. They tried to kill you after. Within 3 hours. You expected it. I planned for it. Ro stopped beside her bed. There's another partition. She nodded. Yes. You built it. Yes. What's in it? She held his gaze. Enough. For what? To dismantle them. Ro felt the weight of that word. Them. Not one man. Not one contract. A structure. How many? He asked. More than you want to know. Ro crossed his arms. You understand what this means? Yes. They will come. Yes. She looked toward the wall where the rifle leaned. They believe the ocean finished the job. A pause. When they realize it didn't, she continued softly, they won't send negotiators. Ro considered that. How long do we have? She calculated. 48-hour system review cycle. Satellite anomaly window. Vessel destruction confirmation. They'll know by tonight, she said. Ro nodded once. Then we work faster. Outside the medical wing, a quiet system diagnostic ping traveled through the station's communication grid. A small, almost invisible query. Biometric confirmation. Survivor ID attempt. The monitoring system flagged it. Passive. Silent. Reporting elsewhere. And far south, in a secure operations room where men did not celebrate twice, a status indicator shifted from green to amber. Asset. Not confirmed. Recovery team. Standby. The Arctic had failed to do its paperwork, and someone was about to correct the error. Captain Elias Rowe did not believe in panic. Panic was noise. Noise blurred variables, and this situation required clarity. He walked out of the medical wing and straight into the secure maintenance room where Lieutenant Sorensen was still staring at the encrypted partition like it had personally offended him. They'll know by tonight, Rowe said. Sorensen didn't look up. They always know. Can you open it? A pause. Yes. How long? Sorensen hesitated. If she's the one who built it? Rowe held his gaze. Yes. Then I'm not supposed to open it. Rowe absorbed that. She built a backdoor. Not a backdoor, Sorensen corrected quietly. A selective key. Rowe nodded once. Bring the system to her. They moved Anika to the maintenance wing under quiet escort. No alarms. No announcements. Just controlled relocation. She walked on her own. Still pale. Still physically compromised. But steady. The rifle never left her shoulder. Inside the sealed room, Sorensen rotated the terminal toward her. She didn't sit immediately. Instead, she scanned the corners. Ceiling. Door hinges. Ventilation shafts. Then she nodded. Clear enough. Rowe noticed she hadn't asked. She had assessed. She sat. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. You've opened the outer shell, she said. Yes. You saw the Virec log. Yes. She typed 3 lines of code. Paused. Typed 2 more. A loading bar appeared. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just progress. Sorensen leaned closer. That's not a decryption protocol. No, she said. It's verification. Of what? Rowe asked. Of you. Silence. The loading bar completed. The screen changed. And for the first time, Sorensen went completely still. Not shocked. Not confused. Still. Because what filled the screen wasn't just more ballistic logs. It was infrastructure, contract numbers, offshore accounts, communications between energy oversight committees and private security firms, encrypted memos referencing resource stabilization events. Rowe scanned one document, then another. His jaw tightened. These aren't isolated hits. No, Anika said calmly. They're policy enforcement. Sorensen looked at her. 17 confirmed engagements in the outer log, he said slowly. Yes, but this goes back 19 years, she finished. Rowe felt the room shrink. 19. Yes. Before you. Yes. She leaned back slightly. The network didn't start with Virec. He inherited a node. He refined it, made it cleaner, more corporate. Who built it? Rowe asked. Anika scrolled. Stopped. A name appeared at the top of the organizational tree. Rowe read it. His expression didn't change, but something behind his eyes did. That's a sitting minister. Yes. Sorensen stepped back. That's impossible. No. Anika replied evenly. It's consistent. Ro looked at her. You're telling me this structure has embedded itself into Arctic energy governance for nearly 2 decades? Yes. And what exactly were you inside it? She held his gaze. I was distance. The word sat heavy in the air. Ro looked back at the logs. Coordinates matched locations tied to controversial infrastructure expansions. Oil routes, military access corridors, research vessels that had publicly malfunctioned. Every incident had an explanation. Every explanation had documentation. And every documentation trail, according to this partition, had been engineered. They trained you for this? Sorensen asked. They trained me to solve complex ballistic equations under shifting atmospheric variables, she replied. They did not train me to ask why. But you did anyway, Ro said. Yes. Silence. Ro stepped closer to the screen. If this goes public, it dismantles the funding chain, she said. If it doesn't, they send a recovery team. Sorensen looked toward the door instinctively. How many? 4, she said. Inside support? Yes. Ro exhaled slowly. Where? She tapped the screen again. A subfolder opened. Monitoring contracts. Helix Arctic Systems. Ro's stomach tightened. That's our maintenance provider. Yes. Silence. Sorensen turned. You're saying the surveillance grid in this station reports metadata externally, she finished. Ro moved immediately. He keyed his encrypted channel. Seal primary communications. Switch to emergency satellite uplink only. Manual verification on all personnel movement effective now. Pause. Sir. Now. He ended transmission. Turned back to Anika. How long before they realize you're alive? She did the math visibly. 48-hour anomaly review cycle. When did the vessel go down? 3 days ago. Ro nodded once. They already know. As if on cue, Sorensen's secondary terminal pinged. Not loud. Just enough. He glanced at it. Unauthorized access attempt on medical intake logs. Ro didn't blink. Inside support, he said quietly. Anika stood. She picked up the rifle. Not aggressively, just ready. They won't attempt negotiation, she said. They'll isolate, contain, terminate. Sorensen swallowed. Terminate who? Me, she said. A beat. And anyone standing close enough to complicate that objective. Ro looked at her. You could have run. Yes. You didn't. No. Why? She hesitated. It was the first real hesitation he had seen. Because this time, she said quietly. I finished the equation. Before Ro could respond, the lights flickered. Once, twice, emergency power kicked in. Red, low-intensity illumination filled the room. Sorensen checked his terminal. Primary grid interference. Ro keyed his channel again. Report. Static. Then, Captain, we have a systems diagnostic override request coming from administrative level. Ro's jaw tightened. Denied. Sir, it's coming from Directorate Authority. Ro understood what that meant. High clearance. Internal. Compromised. Anika stepped toward him. They'll trigger a localized lockdown in another sector, she said calmly. Draw your team away. Ro nodded slowly. Reyes and Petrov are in corridor rotation, he muttered. They'll hear the alarm. As if summoned by prediction, an automated voice echoed faintly down the hallway. Sector C refrigeration malfunction. Immediate personnel response required. Sorensen looked up. That's on the opposite wing. Yes, Anika said. It's bait. Ro's radio crackled. Captain, refrigeration spike detected in Sector C. Ro didn't move. Hold position, he ordered. Sir. Hold. He cut the channel. He looked at Anika. How far will they escalate? She considered. They'll try the door first. And if it holds, they escalate to breach. Sorensen glanced at the reinforced steel entrance. That door's rated for internal containment. Yes, she said. Not external force. A shadow passed beneath the doorframe. Not dramatic. Not rushed. measured. Rose saw it. So did Sorensen. Anika adjusted her stance. She positioned herself offset from the door, not directly in line, not fully concealed. Precise angle. "You've done this before," Rose said quietly. "Yes." "How many times?" "Twice." "And you survived?" "Yes." "Why?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at the door handle. It moved, just slightly, testing. Then stillness. She spoke without taking her eyes off it. "Because I learned their timing." The handle moved again, slower, controlled. Someone outside understood locks. Sorensen's breathing shallowed. Rose's hand hovered near his sidearm. Anika raised the rifle. Not aimed, just ready. "They're mapping interior positions by sound," she said calmly. "Don't speak." Silence. 30 seconds passed. Then, from somewhere far down the corridor, a loud metallic crash. Heavy. Violent. Sorensen flinched instinctively. Ro didn't. Anika didn't. "That's the real approach," she whispered. And in that moment, Captain Elias Rowe understood something with absolute clarity. The Arctic had not been the real battlefield. This room was, and whatever came through that door wasn't here to confirm survival. It was here to correct it. The first impact hit the outer corridor wall, not the door. A tactical mistake if you didn't understand the purpose. A tactical message if you did. They wanted everyone inside to orient toward noise, toward force, toward the obvious. Anika didn't move. "Two at the main corridor," she said quietly. "One flanking left, one holding rear extraction." Ro looked at her. "You can hear that?" "No," she said. "I can count them." The second impact came lower, closer. A shaped strike against the locking frame. Sorensen backed away from the door instinctively. Ro raised a hand. "Stay behind me." His radio clicked twice. Then Petrov's voice, controlled but urgent. "Captain, we've got unidentified movement near administrative access." Reyes engaged visual. No shots fired. They were splitting. Good. That meant they still wanted containment. Not a massacre. Not yet. "Hold them in the corridor," Ro ordered. "Do not pursue." "Copy." Anika shifted one step to the right. The muzzle of the rifle aligned with the narrow seam that would open first if the hinge side gave. Sorensen saw it and understood. Not emotionally, mechanically. She had already modeled the breach geometry. The third strike hit. The frame buckled. Not much. Enough. Anika inhaled once. Slow. Controlled. Ro saw her finger settle to index position. Not tightening. Resting. A person does not survive the things she had survived without becoming exact. The breach team outside made their first real mistake 2 seconds later. They pushed the door too early. They assumed pressure would create reaction. But reaction requires surprise. And there was no surprise left in this room. The steel edge shifted inward 3 inches. Anika fired once. The rifle's report inside concrete walls was not loud in the ordinary sense. It was deep, a concussive mathematical answer. The door snapped back from the force of the body outside, losing balance. Silence followed. Then a short drag sound. Someone pulling the first man clear. Sorensen stared. "You saw him through." "The angle was enough," she said. Ro keyed his channel immediately. "Status." Reyes answered first. "One down near your position. Second and third breaking back toward North Junction." Petrov came in half a second later. "Fourth still unaccounted for." "Not unaccounted," Anika said quietly. Ro looked at her. "Outside." She held the rifle steady. "Rear extraction." Then the station lights died completely. Not flicker. Not emergency shift. Dead. Absolute black for less than 1 second before battery-fed corridor strips activated in dim red. Sorensen whispered something under his breath. Ro heard the fear in it. Anika did not. Or if she did, she had already filed it under irrelevant variables. "They just lost remote visibility," she said. "You sound pleased." "I am," she replied. "They don't like improvising." A pounding of boots in the corridor. "Fast now. No more testing." No more subtlety. The operation had failed clean retrieval. Now it was salvage. Move, Rowe ordered. He pulled Sorensen toward the rear service access while Anika covered the door. Martel and Petrov were already converging from the adjacent wing. Reyes came through on comms. North junction sealed. We cut them off from admin corridor. Good. Containment was tightening. Anika moved backward without breaking aim. Rowe caught it even in the dim light. The way she walked with the rifle was not caution. It was continuity, weapon and body functioning as one line. The rear service corridor opened into an insulated equipment chamber half buried into the station's substructure. Thick walls, minimal access, no external windows, defensible, temporary, never final. Transmission status? Rowe asked as they entered. Sorensen moved to the terminal he had carried under one arm. Partition copied locally, but not transmitted. Rowe turned sharply. What? Sorensen's voice tightened. I needed final route confirmation. The emergency uplink required a second authentication chain. Anika closed her eyes for one brief second. Not anger, calculation updating. How long? Rowe asked. 8 minutes. We don't have 8. We have 6, Anika corrected. Everyone looked at her. Why 6? Because if the rear operator hasn't checked in by now, their outside coordinator has already shifted to contingency phase. That means they stop trying to recover quietly and start trying to erase structurally. Rowe understood. Explosives. Likely. Silence. Then Reyes on comms, lower now. Captain. We found maintenance override access in admin. Somebody inside opened corridor permissions for them. Inside support. Still active. Still somewhere in the station. Sorensen looked pale. How many more? Anika's answer came instantly. Maybe 1. Maybe 3. Networks like this don't waste a single point of access. The room seemed smaller now. Not physically. Operationally. Rowe made the decision then. Not afterthought. Inside it. Transmit now, he said. Sorensen nodded and began routing the emergency uplink. Anika stepped beside him. Use burst fragmentation, she said. He glanced up. The uplink can't stabilize that much data at once. It doesn't need to. Send index, then archive keys, then financial tree. If the connection dies after that, it's still enough. Sorensen stared for half a second. Then realization. That would let the receiver reconstruct the rest from segmented cache. Yes. You built redundancy inside the partition. Yes. Rowe almost smiled despite the situation. Of course she had. Outside, 2 suppressed gunshots cracked through the corridor. Then Petrov's voice. 1 hostile down. We still have movement west side. Martel came in harder, breathing controlled but elevated. They're pushing toward the generator access. Anika looked at Rowe immediately. Not for power. He understood. If they kill backup power, uplink dies. Yes. Rowe keyed the channel. Martel, hold generator access. Whatever happens, they do not reach that room. Copy. The next 90 seconds stretched. No one wasted them. Sorensen transmitted in layers. Progress bars. Confirmation hashes. Relay sync. Anika watched the screen and the door alternately, as if both were equally lethal. Maybe they were. Then the terminal chimed. First package sent. Second package in queue. Rowe exhaled once. Not relief, just timing. Then the inner service hatch behind them clicked. Tiny sound. Metal on pressure seal. Every head turned. Too late. The hatch burst inward and a man in station maintenance gear came through with a compact suppressed weapon already raised. Inside support. He got 1 shot off. It struck the wall above Sorensen's shoulder. Rowe moved first, but Anika was faster. She didn't raise the rifle. No time. Instead, she drove the stock laterally into the man's wrist with brutal precision. Bone snapped. Weapon dropped. Rowe slammed him into the hatch frame and disarmed him completely. The whole thing took under 3 seconds. Sorensen stared, breathing hard. Transmission, Anika said. He turned back instantly. The man on the floor laughed once through clenched teeth. Not because it was funny, Because people like him were trained to laugh when operations failed, as if professionalism itself could soften consequence. "You're too late," he said. Anika looked down at him. "No," she said quietly. "You are." Sorensen's terminal chimed again. Second package sent. Third package transmitting. Reyes's voice came through. Sharp. "Captain, west corridor clear. One hostile withdrew through exterior ramp." Ro looked at Anika. "You let one go." She met his eyes. "Yes." "Why?" "So they carry the result." The third upload stalled. Everyone saw it. Signal fluctuation. Generator strain. Martel's voice slammed through comms. "They planted charges near backup junction. I've got one disabled. Maybe not the second." A distant thud rolled under the floor. Lights dimmed. Sorensen's screen flashed. Signal integrity dropping. "Come on," he whispered. Anika leaned over and typed a rapid command sequence. Manual packet compression. Forced relay push. Authentication bypass through the burst index she had designed herself. The progress bar jumped. Then froze. Then moved. Then confirmed. Full archive delivered. For half a second, no one spoke. Then Sorensen sat back. "It's out." Silence. Real silence this time. Not fear. Not waiting. Completion. Ro looked at Anika. She stood very still. The rifle lowered slightly in her hands. Not because she was weak. Because the equation had finally ended. Outside, station security alarms began activating across all sectors at once. Late, confused, institutional, but active. Too late to protect the secret. Exactly on time to document its collapse. By morning, the archive would be in more than one jurisdiction. By noon, legal holds would begin. By evening, financial seizures. By week's end, arrests. Not all of them. Not immediately. Networks like this did not die cleanly. But they did die when evidence outran force. And force had just lost. Ro looked at the maintenance operative on the floor. Then at Sorensen. Then at Anika. "Is it enough?" he asked. She looked at him. Really looked at him. Not as a variable. Not as an unknown. As a man who had stayed. "Yes," she said. "Just that. Yes." Hours later, when the first pale Arctic light began pressing against the station's outer frost-glazed windows, Anika stood alone for a moment near the medical wing and rested one hand on the rifle that had carried her through ice, betrayal, distance, and 96 impossible hours. It was still a weapon, but it was also something else now. Record, witness, proof. They had built her to solve for wind, gravity, movement, and death. What they failed to calculate was judgment. What they failed to calculate was refusal. And what they failed to calculate most of all was survival. She had been left for dead in water cold enough to stop a human heart. But the truth had lived longer than they did. And this time it had reached shore.